Now, after remaining silent on a day, 4 of his colleagues in the Supreme Court revolted against him in the open. Sources say Chief Justice of India Dipak Misra may meet the dissenting judges today to resolve the crisis. On Friday, sources close to the CJI refuted the charges made by the 4 judges. The sources, in fact, claimed that all judges are treated equally and are independent, and cases were allotted in a fair manner. Meanwhile, in a bid to resolve the crisis amicably, the Apex Court Bar Association is also scheduled to meet today. While the government has stayed clear of the controversy, the Attorney General of India has exclusively told India Today that he will try his best to resolve the crisis among the leading judges of the country.
One thing I do know is Supreme Court judges cannot give press conferences. They are Supreme Court judges.
Yes.
They are not shareholders in a public limited company, so they can voice their opinions and their differences.
You know, it is the duty of people like Solis Rabji, me and other lawyers to come out and speak in favor of independence of the judiciary.
What kind of role Supreme Court Bar Association can play to fine-tune this matter?
Well, as far as the SCB is concerned, we are meeting tomorrow, so I will not comment on what exactly we will do. But I can say one thing, that as the Apex Bar, and I felt that the judges, before going to the media, could have called us also and could have discussed the matter with us. And we as a bar association could have tried to sort out the matter in-house, rather than denigrating the institution itself in front of the general public, because the public has a huge faith in this institution. And today, this is the only institution which people of this country feel is above board. And if that faith is to be shaken, it will be doing great injustice to the institution and to this country. So I thought that if the SCBA had been consulted, we could have played a very meaningful and a positive role in removing this trust deficit, because there are some issues on both sides which need to be addressed, and the Bar Association could have played a very proactive role in that.
Now, it's the biggest mutiny by Supreme Court judges in the nation's history. In an unprecedented move, 4 sitting judges of the Apex Court addressed a press conference yesterday and openly rebelled against the Chief Justice of India, Dipak Misra, accusing him of impropriety and abuse of power.
The administration of the Supreme Court is not in order. We try to collectively persuade the Chief Justice that certain things are not in order, therefore he should take remedial measures. Unfortunately, our efforts failed.
4 sitting judges of the Supreme Court pushing the panic button, leading the biggest uprising in India's judiciary. Justice Chelameshwar, Justice Kurian, Justice Gogoi and Justice Lokur openly rebelling against the Chief Justice Dipak Misra. Dropping a letter bomb, the judges made scathing allegations against the CJI. And when it went unaddressed, they reached out to the 4th pillar of democracy.
The administration of the Supreme Court is not in order. That unless this institution is preserved and it maintains its equanimity, the democracy will not survive in this country or any country. Therefore, we were left with no choice except to communicate it to the nation, blame that Chelameshwar, Ranjan Gogoi, Madan Lokur and Kurian Joseph sold their souls.
The judges accused the CJI of impropriety and of misusing his power to allocate cases to select benches. And even though the judges wrote a carefully worded letter, there were specific cases at the center of this historic rebellion.
The schisms are out in the open and it's camps within the top court of the India. The Supreme Court of India is currently witnessing a crisis like it has never seen before, with the top 4 judges of the collegium, other than the Chief Justice of India, openly rebelling against the manner in which the Chief Justice is functioning. And also the undercurrent is that there is indeed an interference from the executive which is hindering the cause of justice in the Supreme Court.
The uprising has divided the judiciary, as some even question the judge's decision to hold a press meet, especially since one of the 4 happened to be next in line to be the Chief Justice.
The President of India now also should intervene and try to resolve this very well.
All judges of the Supreme Court should hold a press conference and come up with the grievances against the Chief Justice. Now I find this very, very disappointing and very distressing.
The storm even hit the political corridors as Netas warned against a massive judicial crisis.
They have mentioned that there is a threat to democracy. I think it needs to be looked into. About Judge Loya's case, I think that is also something that needs to be investigated properly. It needs to be looked at from the highest levels of the Supreme Court.
The Congress party has attempted the same. It has tried its best to politicize internal issues of judiciary, and we firmly believe that this is wrong.
The government stayed away from the controversy, saying it's a judicial matter, whereas its top legal officer, K.K. Venugopal, said that the Supreme Court judges will resolve the issue on their own.
By tomorrow, they would all be able to completely neutralize this dissension which has been there, to bring about total harmony and restore the confidence of the people and the litigant public in the dispensation of justice by the Supreme Court.
So are important cases being given to select benches? Is the judiciary running on the whims and fancies of the Chief Justice? And is the government interfering with the judiciary? The CJI has many questions to answer because the rebel judges have sounded a code red alarm. It is democracy that is at stake if the judiciary does not withstand the quake. With Anusha Soni and Supriya Bhardwaj in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, it all began with an India Today sting aired on August 3rd about the medical corruption and how various medical colleges barred by the Supreme Court due to poor infrastructure were still admitting students.
The administration of the Supreme Court is not in order.
It's the biggest turmoil in the history of Indian judiciary. The first hint of the rumblings in the institution came on 11th November when Chief Justice of India Dipak Misra shifted a petition filed by Prashant Bhushan from a court appointed by Justice Chalameshwar to another one. The CJI, while changing the court, also clarified he himself will do all roster work. In the hearing that followed, the Supreme Court witnessed acrimonious scenes, with lawyers jeering Bhushan. In the end, his petition was rejected and the NGO behind the PIL was fined 25 lakh rupees.
The Bar Association came out strongly questioning that this way forum shopping should not be allowed.
The Supreme Court has been greatly undermined, and that too by the effectively by the Chief Justice himself. He didn't allow me to say anything. He just kept saying that no, we will not hear you. After 4-5 times I had to leave the court.
Bhushan had filed his petition after the CBI arrested a former Odisha High Court judge, I.M. Kudusi, and a few middlemen who had offered to fix cases in favor of a medical college barred by the government for having substandard facilities. At the time, a Supreme Court bench headed by the CJI was hearing a petition against an Allahabad High Court order that allowed the blacklisted Prasad Institute of Medical Sciences to admit students. Supreme Court later overturned the High Court order. The medical scam was first exposed by an India Today investigation that showed some barred medical colleges in Uttar Pradesh were still admitting students. The promoters of one of the colleges, Sri Venkateshwara Institute of Medical Sciences, that figured in the sting operation, acted as a conduit between Prasad Institute and arrested Judge Kudusi.
The first sign of trouble between Justice Chalameshwar and the Chief Justice of India, Dipak Misra, was when the MCI matter rocked the Supreme Court of India. Eminent legal scholars say that it's not the executive which is a threat to the judiciary, but within the internal workings of the judiciary which are the biggest threat. Also, it is said that the judiciary has been close to reform for a very long time, and now the dissent is brewing up. paving the way for the reform. What needs to be seen in the coming time is what is the response of the Chief Justice of India, and it is the response of the top judge of this country that will decide that where does this debate go forward, whether constructively or to the detriment of this great institution of judiciary. With video journalist Devinder, this is Anusha Soni for India Today.
Now, at the center of the judge's dissent is the death of Judge Loya, who was hearing the Sohrabuddin Sheikh alleged fake encounter case. He reportedly died of a heart attack in Nagpur in 2014. But 3 years later, Loya's family raised questions over his death. Here's a report on why Judge Loya remains a crucial mention and may have been a trigger to the press briefing on Friday.
The death of Judge B.H. Loya on 1st December 2014 is back to haunt the judiciary and the political establishment. The immediate trigger for the revolt by the senior-most judges of the Supreme Court was the assignment of important cases to other judges, including that of a petition seeking a probe into Loya's death.
It is an issue of assignment of a case, which is an issue raised in that letter.
This is about Loya's thing. Is it about Loya?
Yes. Loya, as the CBI court judge, was hearing the Sohrabuddin Sheikh fake encounter case when he died of a heart attack in Nagpur, where he was attending the wedding of a fellow judge's daughter. It was a high-profile case given that BJP President Amidst was named in it, though he wasn't charged. The case hit headlines once again in November last year, when a news magazine, Caravan, raised questions over the death of Judge Loya after interviewing his sister and parents, who claimed many inconsistencies in the police finding of natural death. Later, Loya's son and several Bombay High Court judges spoke out, dismissing allegations of foul play.
Now, India Today visited the family of late CBI Special Judge Loya in Pune. This is what his son had to say.
डिस्कशन करायचं भले ते काहीच डिस्कशन नाही. तर आम्ही लातूर पासून सगळं माहिती तू अनुज आहे ना? नाही मी अनुज नाही ना, अनुज आतमध्ये पण आम्हाला फक्त डिस्कशन करायचं भले ते काहीच डिस्कशन नाही. तर आम्ही लातूर पासून सगळं माहिती.
Now, after the mutiny by the judges, the opposition Congress said that democracy was in danger, while the ruling BJP replied saying the Saffron Party was pained to see Congress trying to gain political mileage out of the crisis. Politics after the unprecedented outburst has now escalated. The BJP has launched a scathing attack on Rahul and accused the Congress of playing politics over what it called an internal matter of the judiciary. The reactions came after the Congress described the comments by the judges as extremely disturbing and appealed to the Supreme Court to find solutions to preserve the independence of the judiciary. Rahul Gandhi even demanded that senior-most judges of the Supreme Court should supervise a probe by an SIT into the mysterious death of special CBI judge Brij Gopal Harkishan Loya.
I think the points that have been raised by the 4 judges are extremely important. They have mentioned that there is a threat to democracy. I think it needs to be looked into. It needs to be looked into carefully. They've also made a point about Judge Loya's case. I think that is also something that needs to be investigated properly. It needs to be looked at from the highest levels of the Supreme Court.
Politics by political parties of the country outside of the judicial purview, trying to drag issues internal to judiciary and politicize that is something which should not be attempted. The Congress party has attempted the same. It has tried its best to politicize internal issues of judiciary, and we firmly believe that this is wrong.
India Today consulting editor Rajdeep Sardesai analyzed the repercussions of the revolt. Let's take a listen in.
The judges themselves said today that they made every effort for last few months to persuade the Chief Justice. Apparently, on the administrative side, Chief Justice is a repeated offender and he is incurable. Now, in those circumstances, there was no other option but for these 4 senior judges to let the nation know that what is happening within the 4 walls of the Supreme Court is not a happy position. People must know, and unless and until people know, after all, you must realize one thing, that exposition or exposure is the best antiseptic to this kind of ills, and therefore there was no other option. Mr. Sorabji doesn't suggest any other option except saying that they must talk, but they did talk. They failed. So what do these 4 senior judges do? Sit there twiddling their thumbs and wait and watch Chief Justice repeatedly massacre cases after cases? I am sorry, Mr. Sorabji is totally wrong. As Attorney General, perhaps Mr. Venugopal could have advised Chief Justice and said, Chief Justice, these matters are being assigned again and again to certain benches. Please correct yourself. Did Mr. Sorabji as Attorney General ever do that? It's all right for Mr. Sorabji to say, oh, press conference is bad. What is the other option? Let Mr. Sorabji suggest.
Okay, let him suggest. Let him say, Mr. Sorabji, what would be the option? What, according to you, as the senior most jurist in the country, would have been a better option for these judges?
Look, I'm not going to suggest what other option would have been. One thing is certain, press conference is not the method. You don't have press conference in which you challenge the integrity of the Chief Justice.
I think he's speaking
and
Chief
that
Justice's language.
Opens a very dangerous door. And I can tell you one thing. Sorry?
Dushyant Dave is saying, why are you only again? He's saying suggest an option. I think what even the country is saying, what is the option, Mr. Sorabji? What is the option? If not a press conference, if I'm a judge who's lost confidence in my Chief Justice in handling politically sensitive cases and is virtually implying that the Chief Justice is allocating these cases only to quash them, what is my option beyond a press conference? What else can I do? What, according to you, can I go to the government? Can I complain to the government? Should I complain to the law minister? But then what happens to the independence of the judiciary, Mr. Sorabji?
Exactly. That's the whole point. That's exactly what I'm saying. But this press conference, you affected the public perception of the independence of the working of the collegium, and that's a very undesirable thing. Look, after all, they are Supreme Court judges. They have to accept it. They are not shareholders in a public limited company, majority, minority. They are Supreme Court judges, and they must make an effort in a spirit of judicial statesmanship to really sort it out. But I don't like this thing that, there's no other option and they must criticize the Chief Justice. I don't approve of that at all.
Okay, some would say, of course, this is the old-fashioned way of looking at it. Times are changing. Silence is no longer an option. Prashant Bhushan, who represents the other view, joining me again now. Prashant Bhushan, you are, if you've just joined the debate, Soli Sorabji, very clear, press conference was the wrong method. Raju Ramachandran and Dushyant Dave saying this is the only way forward because the matters have reached a stage where judges had no option. But your view, Prashant Bhushan, is this mutiny now going to reduce public confidence in the judiciary? I am watching it and saying this is some kind of a family, is this the judiciary split wide open? What happens to my confidence in the apex court now? Are you reducing public confidence in the apex court by doing this?
You see, why is public confidence in the judiciary important? Because the judiciary is supposed to do justice. Now, if you find that the judiciary's capacity to do justice, particularly in important matters, sensitive matters, having serious political overtones which have a great bearing on our democracy and our fundamental rights, etc., if such matters are going to be dealt with in a very unjust manner by fixing particular benches to achieve particular outcomes by the Chief Justice who is abusing his power as the master of the roster to do so, then should this abuse or misuse of power be brushed under the carpet only in order to maintain a facade of confidence in this dysfunctional system of justice? Or is it important
so
to
what are you
fix
calling
this
for?
So that there is proper justice, impartial justice, where...
No, are you calling for the Chief Justice of India to step aside?
That's why it was
Are you calling for him to step aside? What are you calling for?
In my... See, the problem brought out in this press conference is only the tip of the iceberg. I am aware of several other more serious acts of misconduct by the Chief Justice. For example, take the medical college case.
Are you calling for him to step aside,
from the 5
sir?
senior-most judges to whom it had been sent by Justice Chelameshwar.
Are you calling for him to be inquired into? Are you calling for an inquiry into the Chief Justice? Unprecedented.
Yes.
So you may be aware. What are you calling for? Soli Sorabji is saying,
yes,
how can you have a press conference to voice your grievances?
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.